If you're brand new to a Mac, possibly transitioning over from a PC, or just need a helping hand to get started, I'm going to take you through 10 features that I use when configuring a new Mac. I'm Matt from Mac 24/7 and this is Mac Basics 1 Getting Started. Today I'm going to take you through software updates, the dock, mouse orientation, drives, Finder customization, folders including stacks, Wallpaper and Hot Corners, firewalls, energy saving and dark mode. So let's get going. So the first thing I want to do is go to software updates. We can either get to this by clicking on the cog down the bottom here in the dock, or going up to the Apple symbol and click on system preferences. If we click on software update and check in this area whether there is any updates. If there is, run them because you get the latest features of the OS and all security updates that you might need. I just draw your attention to automatically keep my Mac up to date, which will do exactly that. It'll allow the Mac to download overnight any security updates that you might need, and then you can run it whenever you want. You can disable this feature in this little menu, but I suggest that unless you've got any security concerns with the downloads, that you just leave it as it is. Next thing we're going to look at is the dock. The dock is this area down the bottom of the screen that contains all your applications so you can launch quickly. I'll talk in a later guide about adding and removing items from the dock, but for this purpose I'm going to look at resizing. So if we click on the dock here and we look at the size option at the top, we can make it larger or smaller depending on how we want to view it. Some people prefer a nice small dock and some prefer it large so the icons are a lot larger. So next is the magnification, and the magnification, when I turn it on, will blow up the icons just as I roll the mouse across. This is a really nice feature just to lift them out to that dock and show you exactly what you're about to click. Now I tend to put that somewhere in the middle, and likewise with the size of the dock itself, so let's go a little bit larger than that, just so you can see them lifting, whichever one it is, you can see it lifting and then you can click on to go. The position on the screen is quite clear. At the moment it's down the bottom, so if you click it to the right, it pops to the right hand side. Some people love it on the side of the screen, some people really prefer it down the bottom. The bottom is really where traditionally that dock has been over time. So I'm going to keep it to the bottom, but like I say, you can move it to the left of the screen if you wish. Just beware of one thing, that if you have dual monitors, or even if you've got 3 monitors, and you select right or left, the dock will not jump to the right or left of your main monitor, it'll go to the far extreme, so the 2 external monitors, it'll be right or left of there. In that case, you're more than likely going to have to keep it down to the bottom if you want to keep normal access, or you'll end up going with your mouse all the way over to one side of the screen or all the way over to the other side of the screen, which is a bit crazy to be fair. So I tend to keep it down the bottom, which is, I don't know, it feels right. It's the way I've always used it on Macs. That's just my preference though. The next one I want to draw your attention to is this, automatically hide and show the dock. Now if we turn this on, the dock disappears away, and if we move the mouse to the bottom of the screen, it comes back. It's quite nice, this feature, in order to tie the dock away, give you a bit more screen estate when you're opening your apps. So I always keep it hidden, I always keep that selected so that it can just show it when we need it rather than it being there all the time. So next I want to talk about mouse orientation. So if we open up system preferences and head to the mouse over here, you'll see that the scroll direction is natural. What this is meaning that when you scroll down, the page moves up, and when you scroll up, the page moves down. Now, to me personally, I don't like that. I like the scroll of the mouse to go in the same direction as the page. So let me show you an example. So we'll just pull up Safari here. We'll go to Apple's web page, and then if I scroll down, it goes nowhere because it's trying to scroll the page up. If I scroll up on the mouse, it'll move the page down. I think this is a bit back to front, so I always unselect that, but total personal preference, that one. So you can see that now I've changed that, and I scroll downwards, the page will go downwards. Some people love it the other way around, I prefer it that way. The next one is the secondary click, a right click. Everybody's used to right click usually being on the right hand side of the mouse. I think it goes back to Mac's way back when, where you only had one mouse button, and to get a right click you had to hold Control and do what we consider a left click. If you select this option, it then gives you a click on the right hand side. You can do it for clicking on the left hand side. That seems a bit crazy, but it's totally up to you. I always keep it on the right hand side because that's generally what people tend to do, but again, personal preference. So next we're going to move on to drives. Now by default the drives do not appear on your desktop. Some people love their drives there to access their files, especially if you've come across from a PC. You only tend to go through to find your files through a drive. So I'm going to show you the way to get them onto your desktop. So if we go into preferences under the Finder, and then you'll see this list of hard disks, external disks, CD, DVDs and connected servers. We're going to take hard disks. That is showing your internal drives. I have 2 drives on this because I have a Windows partition, but you will probably just see 1 drive, and that will allow you to get to all your documents inside here. So next we're going to talk about customizing the Finder, and we'll start in this window here where we left off with the hard disk. Just down the bottom when it says new Finder window shows, this is giving you the choices to what that window will show as soon as you open a new window. I like to have it on the desktop, but you could have it on documents. If I open a new Finder window, and a little shortcut to that is the Command N, it's opened it straight onto the desktop. If I close that window and change this to documents and open a new window, it opens it straight into documents. So I'm going to leave it on desktop. So if you look into the sidebar now, which is just up here, we have all the different folders that you'll see in a Finder window. So I'll open a new Finder window. By doing that, we remember that it's going onto the desktop as we set it before, and these relate to these down here. So if I want to show my pictures, it'll appear there, and the pictures links appears on my Finder window. Likewise with any of the other details, we can take these away if we don't want to see our downloads. Click it off and downloads will disappear. I quite like having it there, so just leave it there if you want to. Okay, if we then move on to this bar at the top here that you can see, it's got several options for different gallery views and file views, such as the column view. I tend to keep it in the column view, but you can actually customize this. So if we right click at the top and we go to Customize Toolbar, these are all the options that you can add to the top here. Now I've added a couple already, and that is the folder, add a folder, and the delete this bin, which just makes it easier when you've got a file in this main window and you just want to delete it quickly without going down to the trash down the bottom. You just click the delete. Likewise, and I'll show you this now, we can open a folder. So if I click the plus, it pops a folder in onto the desktop. We can see it's titled on. We can see that it's just on the desktop there. I'm going to name it 24/7. If we want to remove any of these, then we can just drag them off, and they disappear in that little ball of dust or paper, whatever you want to call it. So like I said, I'm not going to go through all these options because I'll go in a future customizing your Finder window video. I just wanted to give you a bit of push towards it. Then you can actually have a look through yourself and choose any of these to drag up to the bar. We can actually do the same with applications, but again, I'll show you how to do that in a further video and combine it with extra stuff for the dock. So one thing that I do tend to do at the start of configuring any Mac is set my view. Now we can see that you've got the different options along the top here, from grid to list view to column view, which will give you a nice split columns that you can see the path all the way down. I tend to keep it in column view just because I like it like that, and if you want to change it from that so it'll automatically open in a different view, if you head up to show view options under view, it will have a little tick box for always open in column view. So every time I do a new Finder, it should open in column view now. So just click out of that, I'll come out of that and I'll do a new Finder window, and it's open straight into column view. You can of course change that when you're within this Finder window itself, but I just like to open it like that. You see the file path when we create another file, if I was to create a folder inside that folder. And you can see I've no longer got my little folder symbol at the top up here, which would have been really nice in this scenario just to go click. So let me put that back in. We will grab the new folder logo and just done. And then I'll just put, so we'll call it items. So it's now displaying the folder tree. Nothing wrong if you want to do it a different way in these different views, but I just prefer to have it like this instead. It just gives me a nice visual on what I've got there. At this point, I'd like to give a massive thanks and a big shout out to Conspiracy Catz, who featured my channel on his last video, and it got me 100 subscribers within a few days. Absolutely great, and I thank him so much. His channel is brilliant, it's funny, it's educational, so please check it out as soon as you can. And yeah, just a massive thanks. And if you are into gaming or you have children into gaming, can you check out my son's account, which is DanDMH. He does a lot of Fortnite videos, put a lot of effort into it. So please check it out and subscribe to him and leave a like, and he'll be really grateful. So once again, thanks to Conspiracy Catz. Please check out the channels, I've put the links below. So next I'd like to go on to folders including stacks, but I'm going to expand that to files as well, because the things I'm going to explain are applicable to those too. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is a grid view. So when you first put files on your Mac, and I've done these a couple of minutes ago, and they can be put anywhere on the screen, sort of a bit haphazardly. If you want to create a grid view, so therefore imagine an imaginary grid on your screen, and they will snap to the grid to keep it in nice columns, you need to go to show view options under the view on the Finder, and then you need to go to sort by snap to grid. Now immediately when you do this, it will start to put them into an order. So if I let go, it automatically snaps it to the nearest column. So we will just put it here, and you can see it's snapping it into that line, which I prefer. It works if you're over that side of the screen as well. It's creating an imaginary grid, like I said before, so it allows you to separate your files and your folders. If you've got several files of the same type, like pictures as I have on there, you can use something called stacks. Now stacks instantly groups files of the same variety, like PDFs, like images, JPEGs, into a single folder. It's still all on your desktop, it's just helping display them better, more concisely, more compact. So as you can see, we've got an images folder. It just crushed them from on the desktop, just like you saw. And if I want to see what's in there, I can just click on the images again, and it'll expand it and give me options to do whatever I want with any of those files. So you can do that with a multitude of different file types, PDFs, like I said before, and sound files, whatever it might be. And it's just a really good way of keeping your desktop tidy, and the files all to one side. Now what I will say is that it does not allow you to move your files and store them on another side of the screen. It always snaps back and puts them on that right hand side of the screen. I presume that Apple are thinking you want as much screen estate on this side as possible, and we just keep all the files that side. Some people prefer to put files of different types on different areas of the screen. They might want to put my Mac 24/7 folder at the top there. Now I can't do that if I've got stacks enabled. If I untick it, I can move them wherever, and of course they're stuck to that grid view as well. So that's one of the limitations of stacks, but otherwise it's a great feature that it has. One more thing that I'd like to show you how to do with folders or files is rename quickly. Now if you go into the file name, hit return, it automatically allows you to rename it straight away, rather than clicking on the text and then clicking again, because sometimes you'll end up opening the file or opening the folder without really knowing about it. So the way to do it is just tap return and rename the file. Dead simple. So moving on to Wallpaper and Hot Corners. This is a couple of things that I love to configure. Everybody likes a new wallpaper, so I'm going to show you how to do it. It's dead simple. There is two ways to do it, and I'll show you both. So next, let's move on to Wallpaper and Hot Corners. This is something I love to do when we first get going, because who doesn't like to personalize the desktop? Rather than the stock photos, which are great, but you always want to make it your own. So I'll show you both ways to do it. So if we right click on a JPEG, it could be a PNG as well, doesn't really matter. Right click and then go down to set desktop picture, and pretty much immediately it changes it. And then this is the second way to do it. System preferences under the Apple symbol, but remember we can get it down there as well. Select system preferences, and then we want to go to desktop and screensaver. So this gives us the options, and if you've got two screens, this box will come up on both screens. You have to separately choose the images you want on those screens. It won't apply the same image to both straight away. Now, I'm going to choose my photo I had before, and obviously that was on the desktop. So I'm going to press the plus because this is looking in the pictures folder and I want to look on the desktop. So I press the plus, and then I'll add the desktop as a folder. So I'll just choose that. It will add it straight there, and then you can see all the images that you've got on the desktop. I'm going to select the Mac 24/7 and it instantly brings it up just as it did before. So you can actually do this in Safari using Google on any image. I'll show you how to do that now. If you click on Safari, so we'll open a new browser and we'll go to Google. So say we want a photo of let's say an Apple computer. So we'll select Apple computer and we'll go to images. And then you're getting all the images of the Apple computers there. If you go to select it once, and it'll appear in this column on the right hand side, and right click it, and then you can do exactly the same, use image as desktop picture. Same procedure, just from within Safari, really useful. So moving on to hot corners. Hot corners are areas of your screen where you're allowed to assign things like look at all applications, go to desktop, various features you can do at all 4 points of your screen. So I'll take you through it right now. If we go up to the system preferences, and then we go to screensaver and desktop, click on hot corners. It gives you 4 options: top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. I like to assign these to mission control and one to desktop. Mission control will show you everything that you have open on your screen at the moment. Now I've got a few apps open, so I'm just going to open them into the main window. So let's just open all these up, and then if I just OK that and I go up to top right, it will show me nicely laid out all my apps that I've got open. Now as a little tip, if you want these apps to go on a separate screen, a separate desktop, then you can just drag them up to the top and it creates a separate desktop. Now that's a bit of an advanced feature. I haven't gone over that in this particular guide. I just thought I'd talk you through it while we were here. For this purpose, I'm just going to drop it back on this desktop. Now you'll see that if I go to the top right again, it'll condense everything onto one screen. It's all a bit cluttered though. Now if I go to bottom right, if you remember I assigned it to the desktop view, it'll clear everything out the way. I find this useful when I'm copying files about from the desktop onto drives and you just need everything out the way. Just to get it back to normal how it was before, we just go to the bottom right again. And that is hot corners. So the next thing I want to talk about is the firewall. If we go back into the system preferences, I just come out of the desktop and screensaver view, and I just need to click on security and privacy. My firewall is currently on, but if you haven't got it on to start with, it will look something like this. It's a simple thing, you just turn it on, you're protected. It's giving you a bit of a barrier between you and all the horribleness of the internet. That's not even a word, but I'm going to go with it. You can have options that you can specify connections that you can block. You can block everything, so that cuts off all your internet. Or you can allow certain programs to get through, and this is quite an interesting one at the bottom, this stealth mode. If anything on your network attempts to find your computer, you can do something called a ping. If anybody tries to ping your computer, it will not return a result. So into all intents and purposes, you are hidden, hence why it's called stealth mode. I'd highly advise putting that on as well, unless you're on a network where you want to be able to ping all the other computers. If you are and you want to do that, just leave it off, of course. And just OK and click your lock, and that's the firewall. So the last thing I want to talk about is energy saver. So if we just click on the light bulb there, and then it'll give you the option to turn the display after a set amount of time. I like to keep it on never because my screensaver will kick in anyway after about 20 minutes. And I don't really need my display going to sleep, but if you want to extend the life of your display and perhaps don't need it on, perhaps you go away from your computer quite a lot, it will go to a black screen. There's a few other options on here. The ones that I don't particularly like is put hard disk to sleep where possible, because I just get worried that if you're copying a file or whatever you're doing, an action that requires a hard disk and it goes to sleep, you might lose that information. Now in theory, the Mac should realise that you are doing a process and not put it to sleep, but I never like to take that risk. There's a couple of others here that are pretty clear. The start up after a power failure, hopefully you won't have one of those. And enable power nap, that's quite a decent feature. It will, when your computer goes to sleep, it'll allow it to do updates in the background, software updates, and things like checking for email and sort of background processes without your computer being active to you. So it's a nice little feature if you like it to do things in the background. If you don't want it and you want to take the energy usage right down, just leave that unticked. So that was energy saver. So the last thing I want to do is take you through a couple of keyboard shortcuts. These are ones that I use every day. I think they're useful to everybody. So the first one is Command Q, which is quit. The next one is Command H, which is hide. That puts it down to your bar at the bottom. The next one is Shift Command N. That gives you a new folder. And the final one I want to give you is Command E, which is eject your drive. I'll go through more shortcuts in a different video. I just wanted to give you those because I use them every day and I find them dead useful. So I want to have a look at dark mode. Dark mode gives your Mac a darker appearance in certain windows. It helps take a little bit of strain off your eyes, and some people prefer it when they're working at night. We can change it through in system preferences. We head to general. It'll give you light, dark and auto. Light is the mode I'm on at the moment. We can see these boxes are light, the text is black, the boxes are sort of a grey colour. If I set it to dark mode, it will basically switch the colours, so the background goes to dark grey and the text goes to white. If you have it on auto, that will automatically switch it at a certain time of the day, namely when sunrise or sunset, because it's working out what's best for you to look at. If you have an iMac, the iMacs all have sensors on, so it will be able to detect this. If you don't have a Mac with a sensor on, it should be surprising, but it can reference the time through Apple servers and will tweak it that way. Now it's total personal preference, whichever one you like. I prefer to have it in light mode, but I know that dark mode has really taken off for some. It's completely up to you, but it's a great little feature, and it just gives you a bit of an alternative for your display. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you'd like to subscribe and leave a like just down there somewhere, I'd very much appreciate it. I know it's simple tips, but it's tips that I use every time I set up a new Mac just to do it quickly and efficiently. If you can check out Conspiracy Catz and Dan DMH and give them a like and subscribe, I know they'll both appreciate it. They are great channels, and I'll catch you in the next one.